Hello, teachers, parents, and educational leaders, and welcome to this episode of Breaking Down the B.E.S.T. Now, during this episode, you will get a peek into the members-only area where I have tons of resources to help you make math fun, make it click, and make it stick. There should be a link somewhere around this video where you can learn more. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to it, and let's break down the standard. Welcome to Breaking Down the B.E.S.T, a video series dedicated to breaking down Florida's B.E.S.T standards for math. So grab something to write with and maybe even a snack. This looks good. And don't forget to put a smile on your face. There you go, I see you. And let's dive into today's B.E.S.T standard. Hey everyone, my name is Sarah McCarthy and I'm super pumped and excited that you are joining me as we tackle today's B.E.S.T standard, which is MA.5.FR.2.1. This standard says to add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators, including mixed numbers. So these are what mixed numbers look like, and notice that we have different denominators. One is 5 right there and one is 10 right there. So including mixed numbers and, why is this being so funny? And fractions greater than 1, which would be written like this, where our numerator is greater than the denominator, with procedural reliability. Okay, so the example down here is saying the sum, or if we're adding, the sum of 1/12 and 1/24 can be determined by using these equivalent fractions. For instance, taking 1/12 plus 1/24, transforming that into 2/24 plus 1/24, which would equal 3/24, okay? By the way, this document that I'm marking up all over is not something that I created. This is something that the Florida Department of Education releases to the public, and in these episodes, I'm just showing you how I take the resources that they provide, how I break down the standard in order to create the resources that are available to you in your Taking on the B.E.S.T membership, which we will get to that in a little bit. These videos are structured where we spend about half of the video going over the standard and the other half showing the resources that you have available in your membership, okay? Let's take a look at these benchmark clarifications. It says instruction includes the use of estimation, manipulatives, drawings, and properties of operations. And then we have factors up to 12. All right, so what other benchmarks are related to this fifth grade benchmark? That would be MA.5.NSO.2.3, which is where we practice adding and subtracting decimals so we can connect our decimal relationship to the fraction relationship. We have MA.5.AR.1.2 is where we add, subtract, and multiply fractions in real world problems. So this standard, so in that AR standard, you can see it's embedded in a real world problem, but for this fraction, this 5.FR.2.1, it's mostly about the drill practice, understanding how the process of adding and subtracting fractions. Then we have 5.GR.2.1, which is our perimeter and area with fractional and decimal side lengths. So for instance, with perimeter, we would be adding up the sides, right? And with those fractions, they might be uncommon denominators, and we have to figure out the common denominator there. Where are they coming from in 4th grade? They had 4.FR.1.3, where they practice equivalent fractions. So if your students struggle with creating equivalent fractions with this standard, and you have the Taking on the B.E.S.T membership, the one with access to all 3 grade levels, you could bump it down to 4th grade and have your students practice these videos where they're strategically practicing finding equivalent fractions. We're also doing a lot of decomposing fractions too that we're pulling from 4th grade. And of course in 4th grade, they did have adding and subtracting with fractions and mixed numbers, but it was with like denominators. So this is the first time that we're incorporating those unlike denominators. And then in 6th grade, they'll have to do it with procedural fluency, meaning that it's not just an understanding with drawing and visuals, but they've got it down, okay? Let's go to the purpose and instructional strategies section. It says the purpose of this benchmark is for students to understand and that when adding or subtracting fractions with unlike denominators, equivalent fractions are generated to rewrite the fractions with like denominators. That's just saying when we have unlike denominators like 2 and 3, we need to generate equivalent fractions that have a common denominator, which in this case, 2 and 3 would be 6. Okay, this says that during instruction, students will begin with expressions with 2 fractions that require rewriting of one of the fractions, so not both of them, where one of the denominators is a multiple of the other, like 1 and 1/2 and 3 and 1/6. We could multiply 2 times 3 to get that one. We don't have to rewrite both of them. And for 3/4 and 5/8, we would just need to rewrite the fraction with a denominator of 4 to change it into a denominator of 8. We only have to rewrite one. And the video lesson in the bronze resources that I'll show you, video lesson number 1 goes over that. So go ahead and make note of that. That way when you see it in the membership, you'll know what I'm talking about. And then we will progress to expressions where both fractions must be rewritten, which is going to be video lesson number 2 that I'll show you. Here it says that various fraction models, to provide practice problems that include various models of fractions, because students may find that a circular model might not be the best model when adding or subtracting fractions, because of the difficulty in partitioning the pieces so they are equal. I like the area model with the rectangular shape. It just makes it easier for me. A number line is also a great way too, but in taking on the best, we work with those area models, okay? We also want to use flexible strategies and of course mental computations. For instance, if we had 1 2/3 and 4 4/5, we could say that 1 2/3, well, that's close to 2. 4 5/5, that's close to 5, and 2 plus 5 equals 7. And since they're both a little bit less than 2 and a little bit less than 5, our sum will be a little bit less than 7. Now remember that in 4th grade, the denominator stayed the same, right? We were adding and subtracting fractions with the same denominator. So we need to emphasize the use of area and number line models, which we do in taking on the best, and also present expressions in numeral word form, which we do in video lesson 1 and number 2. Numeral word form is like this: 5/8 and 9/8. That's how you would write it. And also that reminds students that representations need to be from the same whole models with the same shape and size. For instance, right here, 1 1/4, this would be a correct way to model it using a circle, and 1/2 would be the correct way to model it using an area, a rectangular area model, but they're not the same whole, and so it makes it difficult to add up all the fractions. So this would not be encouraged, just trying to show you what not to do. I also made a point that this was a connection right here because what they have as an example, this real world problem, ties more into MA.5.FR.2.1. Just keep that in mind. I put up here that this standard takes lots and lots of modeling to really showcase what is happening. It's not just magic that we're changing denominators, we're creating equivalent fractions, which means we're just separating what we already have. So lots and lots of modeling, and then these are some examples that you can take a look at. And then I love this kind, well, not love it, but just be ready that because we need to regroup problems like this, where we have 2 1/4. Well, first we would have to get them into common denominators, but then it would only be 2/8. 1/4 could be written as 2/8, but we still need to regroup the 2, which I model in the Taking on the Best. Take a look at, let me write this down. Take a look at video lesson number 4 if you need help with regrouping, okay? All right, so write that note down, and then I am going to go ahead and show you what you have access to with your membership. All right, so here we are on the web page. We're going to click Members, enter here. Taking on the Best. Which grade? 5th grade. We want the FR strand right there. Okay, then click on the standard that we want, which is MA.5.FR.2.1, add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators. Now, your first page that's going to pull up is the bronze resource page. It contains video lessons and printable pages. Now, I know right here it says video coming soon. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. I literally just finished recording and editing these videos right here that you're going to see, video 1, 2, 3, and 4. By the time this video is released where we're going over it, everything will be uploaded. It's going to be uploaded very, very soon. I just wanted to go ahead and jump on this because I wanted to get everything out to you, okay? So usually there's a video right in here. You just click play, and then you have your printable pages right next door. All right, so this would be an example of one. We're going to go over more of the video lessons in just a second. I'm just kind of helping you to navigate it. If you have the bronze, silver, or gold membership, you have access to these video lessons that you'll see when they're there and the printable pages. Okay, I'm going to go ahead though and go into the silver resources, the silver plan. So if you have the silver or the gold, you have access to this. You'll see that we have access to printables, answer keys, and the math misconception mystery video, which is also coming soon, which I'm actually filming right after I film this one. So by the time you see this video, you will see that there's actually a video right there for you. Okay, so we're going to click on printables. And if it has a video icon like that and says video lesson, this is on the bronze page. The bronze plan has just the video lessons and the printable pages. This first video lesson is adding and subtracting fractions where we only need to rewrite one of the fractions. Remember that we made a note of that in our standard. And then we've also incorporated that numeral word form, and we practice with visual models. So if you're unsure of how to model how fractions can be changed, how you can change the denominator and change your fractions, I would suggest that even you watch these video lessons ahead of time to be ready of how to do it. But it walks your students through. So your students just take the notes from the video lesson on this page, and then with the silver plan, you have extra practice that looks very similar to what we just did in the lesson. Okay, then if you keep scrolling, you have another video lesson, this time adding and subtracting fractions where we rewrite both of the fractions. So we're going to take our numeral word form, 2/10, 1/3, and rewrite both the fractions to generate equivalent fractions where we can then add them. Also including a visual. So video lesson number 1 on the bronze page and number 2 will showcase those visuals. Then we have the extra practice page. Your next video lesson is addition with fractions greater than 1. So you'll see here that we have mixed numbers where we're finding the sum. For some of them, like number 1, we'll have to rewrite both fractions. For some of them, like number 2, we'll have to rewrite only one fraction. There are no models here for this one. I know that for the subtraction one, video lesson number 4, there is a model there just to showcase what regrouping looks like in a visual model. We'll get to that in a second. But here's the extra practice page for addition with fractions with your silver plan. And all of the answers are in the answer key right over here, okay? And then our final video lesson number 4, is subtraction with fractions greater than 1. So this is where we're finding the difference. For this one, no regrouping is needed. But I wanted to make sure that for the last two, for number 2 and number 3, that I was showcasing how to regroup fractions when you, like this would transform into 6/8 over here. And then we cannot take 6/8 from 5/8 until we regroup them. So I show with a visual model what that looks like. I show with just calculations what that looks like mathematically for these, okay? There's an extra practice page. All right, and then here we have a math mission where we're kind of putting everything together. We're adding and subtracting. We've got, looks like we got mixed numbers right there that we have to take. How many hours does he write on Monday, Thursday, and Sunday? So finding that and adding them up. How many more hours did he write on Thursday than Sunday? So you can see this is kind of tying in that AR.1.2 standard, I believe is what it was, where it's adding and subtracting in a real world problem. That's here with the math task too. Okay, and then this is the math misconception mystery episode, this page 1, it's 2 pages long. Okay, and these are super fun. So what you will do is there's typically a video right there. You just click play and I will walk your students through the entire thing. These are great to roll out as a whole group first, and then teachers, once they realize that their students start to get the hang of them and understand what the expectations are for this, they like to roll them out in small groups or independently. But these are wonderful for math discussions. They really generate some really thought-provoking discussions with your students. So here's what we'll do. The students will pause the video to solve this problem either on their own or with a small group. And you can see here we're subtracting with fractions, or we'll have to rewrite both fractions to generate an equivalent fraction with the same denominator. And we'll also have to regroup a fraction there, but students will solve that. And then they will watch as 4 characters also solve that problem. Now those characters are just me dressed up in silly costumes. 3 of them make a mistake and only 1 character solves it correctly. So students really have to listen carefully and pay attention to what each character does and says. And then they'll fill out the detective report stating who the most reasonable answer belongs to and evaluating the work of the other 3. So these are super fun. The students love them, and it really just requires so much thinking for them, of them. Again, your answer key for the silvers are right there. And then if you have the gold plan, you have access to even more. With the gold plan, you can go back to your bronze or your silver resources at any time. You have a mini assessment with the gold plan. So here you can see we've got that numeral word form. We've got a variety of question types, all focusing on adding and subtracting a variety of fractions with unlike denominators. Okay. Here's where they'll have to analyze somebody's error that they made. So these are super fun, and you have the answer key for that right here. This video right here that you're watching should be uploaded right there where it says breaking down the best video coming soon. These videos, one of the nice perks about being a gold member is that you do have access to these videos, which are ad-free, and they're right there with all of your resources. But you might also be watching this on YouTube to showcase the other parts of your membership. So the only thing about having it on YouTube is that there's ads. It's all good, but it's just a nice little perk for being a gold member. But really, if you chose the gold plan, it's because of McCarthy Math 155. Now, the video lessons and taking on the best definitely go through the different parts of the standard, but if you need extra practice for your students, this is why teachers select the gold plan, okay? This is McCarthy Math 155. It's a daily math intervention allied to the Common Core standards. Now, this is what we used in Florida before we had the BEST standards. And so many teachers and principals begged me to put this into the gold package because they still wanted to use it even though it was based on the Common Core standards. Now, some of the skills are different for sure. So many of them do trickle over. So if you really just want to make sure that your students are getting that safe place to practice, 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 and build those confidence muscles, this is what you want. Okay, so McCarthy Math 155, the 155 stands for 155 video lessons that you would have access to. And what we're gonna do is just scroll down to operations with fractions. And you'll notice for operations with fractions, there are 30 video lessons where we add and subtract with fractions, multiply and divide with fractions, and we also have some close reading word problems. So if we click on this, let's see how many episodes we have that are dedicated to adding and subtracting fractions. All right, so you can see here we've got day 74, converting fractions greater than 1 into mixed numbers. Day 75 is the opposite, converting mixed numbers into fractions. So if you have students that are struggling to do that, there are video lessons in the gold plan dedicated to this. Day 76, adding fractions, adding mixed numbers, adding mixed numbers, adding mixed numbers, subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. Okay, so from day 74 all the way to day, let's see, day 87. That's about 13 videos, maybe 14 if I'm not counting right, where you have access to extra practice to really get your students feeling comfortable and confident with adding and subtracting fractions, okay? And that is the power of that gold plan. So just because it says Common Core, I know that it says Common Core, but this is a skill where it's awesome to have that gold plan. I think that's it. So I hope that this video was helpful in first breaking down the standard and then showing you what resources you have access to with your taking on the B.E.S.T membership. Before we go, let me remind you that what you choose to do every day with your life, it really does matter. Thank you for showing up for your students, for showcasing what the best version of yourself looks like. That way your students can be inspired to do the same. I know you're busy, so we'll just leave it at that, and I will see you in the next episode, all right? Bye. Okay, so I know that I just said goodbye for now, but I'm gonna ask you to do one more thing, okay? If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your teacher friends or other leaders in education. That's how I get to continue doing what I love to do, which of course is supporting you all to the best of my ability. All right, for real now. Bye.